Our greetings to all of you to this online platform to have a wonderful feast of intellectual feast today. Kantaloor Sala is very proud that we have been hosting national and international lecture series. And today, we are so fortunate that we are starting a lecture series in Indian intellectual traditions. The speaker is a very learned Professor Sri Rajendran today. I welcome him as well as all the scholars to this platform on behalf of Kantaloor Sala. I have 3 points to just highlight on this point. Number one, all the participants, please kindly leave your name, telephone number, and email ID through chat box. Or if you could not do it right now, please use any one of us phone number, which is given in the invitation letter. Please send us through WhatsApp or any other social way. You please communicate to us your name, phone number, and mail ID, so that we will be planning a series of programs. We will be in touch with you, and you can also participate along with us. That is number one. Number two, the lecture. During this course of this discussion, please leave your queries and questions in the chat box. So in the final, after the lecture is over, we will have a question and answer session. There, all these points will be discussed in detail, and your queries and answers will be given by our Professor Sri Rajendran. And one more request to you is that our website is very much operational. As you know, within this 6 months of time, we have conducted a lot of programs one by one, and we are also envisaging a lot of other lecture series as well as some courses in the near future. So please be in touch with our website. Visit our website, leave your comments there. Also, we have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe the YouTube channel also, so that you will be getting intimations in right time. So these are all the small things to inform you right now. And once again, welcome you all to this lecture series. And we will start our program with a Vedic invocation. I invite Dr. Aryambia to render the invocation. Dr. Aryambia.
Namasabhai. Sangachadvam samvadadvam samvo manamsi janatam deva bhagam yatha purve samjanana upasate samano mantra samiti samani samanam manah Sahachittamesham samanam mantram abhimandrayeva samanena voha vishajuhomi samani vaguti samana hridayani va samanamastu vo mano yathavassu sahasati Jagrat swapna sushuptishu sphudatarayasam vidujrambhate ya brahmadi pipilikantatanushu prota jagat sakshini saivaham nacha drishyavastviti dridha prajnapi yasyasti chet Chandalostu satudvijostu gururityesha manisha mama. विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरीतुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये.
Thank you. So now I request Dr. K.K. Hariharan to welcome the audience as well as the speakers. Welcome address, Dr. Hariharan.
Namaste.
Continue.
My heartfelt salute to all dignitaries attending this function. Like the ancient famous study centers like Nalanda in Bihar and Takshashila now in Pakistan, Kantaloor Sala functioned in South India near Thiruvananthapuram city as famous center where faculties of both ancient and modern studies existed. Kantaloor Sala is a trust formed by a group of scholars and well-wishers who have taken up the noble attempt of reviving of Kantaloor Sala as a deemed university of great integrity. On behalf of Kantaloor Sala, a series of programs have been already conducted. I would like to welcome all those who are attending this function. Dr. S.V. Ariambiya, who presented the Vedic invocation, has expressed sincere affinity to the all programs of Kantaloor Sala. And first I extend my sincere welcome to Dr. S.V. Ariambiya. Sri K. Narayanan Putti, who is presiding this function, is president of Kantaloor Sabha. He is well known as a Vedic scholar and has presided many Vedic rites like Adhiratra and Somayaga. I extend my sincere welcome to Sri K. Narayanan Putti. Professor P.C. Murali Madhavan is giving the inaugural address here. Professor P.C. Murali Madhavan is special officer of Kantaloor Sala and was professor of Sanskrit in Sri Shankara University of Sanskrit and was also visiting professor in many universities in India and abroad. We all wish to see the Kantaloor Sala become a reputed deemed university of excellence under his leadership and unparalleled vision. I extend my sincere welcome to Professor P.C. Murali Madhavan. Today, the first lecture of the lecture series on Indian intellectual tradition is here being delivered by Dr. C. Rajendran, adjunct professor of Sri Shankara University of Sanskrit. Dr. C. Rajendran was professor and head of the Department of Sanskrit and Dean of Languages at the University of Calicut. He is author of more than 300 books and more than 200 research papers. Professor C. Rajendran was visiting professor in many universities in India and abroad. He was member of advisory board of Board for both Sanskrit and Malayalam of the Sahitya Academy, New Delhi. Dr. C. Rajendran is recipient of several awards, including Kerala Sahitya Academy Award for Literary Criticism. I extend my heartfelt welcome to Dr. C. Rajendran to deliver the first lecture of the lecture series of Indian Intellectual Tradition. Here are present in this digital platform many intellectuals who will take part in the discussion after this lecture. I welcome to all those dignitaries to participate in the discussions. Dr. G. Ramamurthy is here to moderate this program. Dr. G. Ramamurthy is Academic Director of Kantaloor Sala and was Professor of Sanskrit in Sri Shankara University of Sanskrit. I extend our heartfelt welcome to Dr. G. Ramamurthy. Sri V. Vasudevan is presenting vote of thanks after this lecture. Sri V. Vasudevan stands always seriously with all programs of Kantaloor Sala and Kantaloor Sabha and is liaison officer of Kantaloor Sala. I extend my sincere welcome to Sri V. Vasudevan. Many scholars are present in this digital platform, including Sri Madhavan Nambudiri, Vice President of Kantaloor Sabha, Sri Subramaniam Musad, Secretary of Kantaloor Sabha, Dr. Pradeep Jyoti, Treasurer of Kantaloor Sabha, and many other dignitaries are present in this program. And I extend our heartfelt welcome to all those present in this program. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So now I welcome our President of Kantaloor Sabha, K. Narayanan Poti. He's a Vedic scholar to give his presidential address.
Namaskaram. Welcome to the dignitaries and viewers assembled here. First of all, let me express my regards and respect to Sri Rajagopal, an eminent scholar in Indian philosophy, the main speaker who is going to deliver today's lecture. Then to Dr. P.C. Murali Madhavan, renowned Sanskrit scholar and world-famous educationist and special officer of Kantaloor Sala and other associate staff of Kantaloor Sala and the listeners of today on online who are inquisitive to learn about our Indian philosophy. To you all, I express my regards here. As the president of the Kantaloor Sabha, which is supporting Kantaloor Sala, which is being revived here from its glorious past as a world university in the 9th century in the Eye Kingdom of southernmost tip of Kerala, which is here organizing a prestigious lecture series like that of today. And I thank everyone who is supporting this event. Kantaloor Sala encouraged all philosophical knowledge systems since it considered Vedic studies as a foundation of its academic endeavors. Vedic, Vedantic, Buddhist, Jainist, Sankhyainist, Nayayika, Vaisheshika, Logadhyanic, Mimamsaka, philosophical knowledge systems and their applications and were the research subjects of epistemology in Kantaloor Sala. Study of these systems were carried out in this model university along with Vedangas. In ancient universities, much importance had been given to philosophical studies. Philosophy or darshana involves study of formulation of general principles of all knowledge systems at each epoch of the development of society, helping to create world outlook about universe, man, and society. The fundamental questions raised by philosophy in all ages, in all nations, are the questions about the origin of the universe, nature of matter, human conception and perception, and the mutual relation, and about social relations. It is a common option that Indian philosophical epistemology does not include the points raised by modern Occidental philosophy like modern materialism or dialectics. A close study of earlier Vedic studies will show that Indian Vedic philosophy was much more superior in these aspects also. In India, in ancient Vedic times, through Veda, answers to these questions, many general abstractions were formulated by Vedic rishis as their and contemplations that about the world as that revealed to them. Later, darshanas, by extending these thoughts, tried to solve these eternal riddles of human thinking by using certain abstractions of principles for general concepts such as evidence, pramana, perception, pratyaksham, inference, anumana, Varshmani, shabda, and comparison, upamanam, and postulation, arthavati, and non-cognition, anubalabdi, sambhavam, and idiham, and so on and so forth. Through that process, Indian philosophical systems such as Logayana, Bauddha, Jaina, Sankhya, Yoga, Nayayiga, Prabhagara, Bhatta, Mimamsaga, Vedanta, Puranika, epistemological philosophical systems evolved here. They tried to develop knowledge through Swarupa Siddhi and Swabhava Siddhi, tried to relate Jagadupadana Karnam with, they tried to formulate the absolute category through Kudatta Parimana Rahityam and the relative category through Prakriti Parinama Sannibhattam. Then the Sat, Asat, Jagat, Prakriti, Brahmam, Dravya, Nityatvam, Sthula Bhahya Vidyanam, Sushmatala Vidyanam, Vidyana Rahityam, Shunyata Vadam, Jivatma Paramatma Bandham, Karma Srishti Vaijitram, Nishkama Karma Moksha Sadhanatvam, Ishropasanam, Brahma Tattvam, Vaidika Dharmasya Vaividyam, Parapara Vidya Jnanatvam, Pravarti Nivrti Kartrutvam, where the concepts evolved and pondered over in later years. Though these different philosophical systems went through the stages of genesis and metamorphosis, apostles of these systems never considered these as different religions, but only as different offshoots of a main stem. Whatever points arise in the worldwide philosophical epistemology, all of which and more were dealt with deep insight to find thought-provoking inferences of eternal importance problems that had been discussed in Indian philosophy. Different analyzing methodologies were there, but all tried to solve different aspects of philosophy separately by showing mutual respect, but by continuing uncompromising struggle to find out the truth. In Nasadi Suktam in Rigveda in the 10th mandala, the Vedic Rishi saying about the origin of universe. Who verify, who verily knows, who can here declare it, whence was this universe was born, and whence came this creation? Answer of which no one knows. And did the shining one appears with this production, but who knows when it has arisen? He who at this creation came into being, where he helped it or not? He did not. He who oversees on the eternal regions of there in one, rarely knows, or perhaps he does not know. Here, emphatically and daringly, in Veda, the unknown is declared as unknown. No vacillation or apprehension in declaring it. So Vedic philosophy is still the most modern one, which can include all logical philosophies. The philosophical development is an indicator of the cultural development of society. Many times, only by plunging into it, into the depths of the ancient wisdom, new concepts were discovered that were having new colors. So studying, propagating, knowing the rich Indian philosophical system and integrating it with modern and ancient philosophies of the world helped solve the eternal problems of humanity facing at different junctures of human history. It is an historic duty to spread such knowledge to the worldwide integration of the humanity as such. An humble, earnest, but erudite effort of this kind by engaging ourselves in the endeavors like this, Kantaloor Sala is ever duty bound to organize events like this by which we are advancing one step forward to that direction with a noble vision. With these, I here conclude. Thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. You have been highlighting the role of our Vedic philosophy and its role in the Indian philosophy, how to carry on, given a very good introduction. And our next event is inaugural address. So for the inaugural address, we are having a wonderful scholar here, as well as our Kantaloor Sala special officer, Dr. Murali Madhavan sir. I am very happy to welcome him to say his inaugural address. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Dear Professor Sri Rajendran, the guest of the day, Sri K. Narayanan Poti, a very great senior scholar in Vedas and the president of the Kantaloor Sala, Kantaloor Sabha, the learned participants who are witnessing this academic event on virtual platform. I salute you all. My friends and colleagues in Kantaloor Sala and Sabha, I express my thanks to all of you for your scholarly intervention and cooperation in academic and administrative affairs of Kantaloor Sala. As you are aware, in a slow and steady process, Kantaloor Sala, the ancient University of South, is getting revived. In the first stage, Sala has been conceived as an institute for higher studies and research in ancient Indian wisdom. We have started several lecture series both the national and international level, and workshops and colloquiums. They are in pipeline. The Sala would like to bring back the glorious, vibrant intellectual endeavors of our tradition, especially in the fields of physical and metaphysical sciences. Sala plans in a grand scale to initiate interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary studies and research, which will facilitate healthy blend of wisdom of both tradition and modernity, and also will pave way for a peaceful and prosperous life in this planet. Dr. C. Rajendran, a known Sanskrit and Indologist, is here with us on our invitation to deliver this the first lecture of in this series. And he is the right person in Kerala to be invited for such a serious academic lecture. Even though he is very near to me, he is in Calicut and I am in Trichur. I used to meet him not in India, but often and on outside India. I express my indebtedness to Professor Rajendran for his acceptance to deliver such a scholarly lecture. The Upanishad says, Ekoham Bahusyam, I am one and I would become many. The idea of multiple growths is underlined in the history of Indian intellectual systems and knowledge systems. It also implies their interconnectivity and interdependence. Sanskrit language has continued to be an everlasting source of wisdom as well as intellectual discourse, and has sustained these intellectual traditions for more than 3 millennia. The history of their development can be roughly summarized in the following 4 stages. The stage of origin from 3000 BC to 1000 BC, and the age of evolution, that is 1 millennium, that is 1000 BC, and the age of development, the first millennium AD, and the age of expansion and cultivation of branches of knowledge in the second millennium AD. Various intellectual traditions underwent through these 4 stages with a continuous development throughout these millennia. There is a common belief that Sanskrit language and its traditions stopped developing after the 10th century AD, and instead of original thinking, only commentaries were produced. The view of decline of the Sanskrit learning through the past centuries has become so deep-rooted that any theory suggestive of the idea of a continuous growth of the tradition is not taken seriously. If the colonial outlook had its own design, the Orientalism during the 18th and 19th centuries also undermined the creativity of Sanskritic discourses in later age. There has been an undercurrent of geopolitics that leads to a marginalization and overall neglect of these traditions. There have been various other forces, socio-political conditions, and internal dichotomies have functioned as deterrents for the growth of these traditions. But nowhere the tradition supports the idea of decline. It is only a Orientalist view, Indologist of Orientalist view. It is not Indian view. So nobody supports the idea of decline. The theory that Indian intellectual traditions declined after the 10th century was postulated under an Orientalist discourse, and it needs to be seriously re-examined. There is no idea of a decline anywhere in the tradition until the 19th century. None of the authors who created new Sanskrit texts seriously believed in the idea of deterioration. The socio-political conditions might have led to certain stagnation. Maybe that, some stagnation at the surface level. Our scientists were not tortured like in the way in which the Copernicus or Galileo is tortured. Scientists like Aryabhata might have met a certain amount of resistance from the priests, but there was no church to put them on trial. India has been and must have remained a country that thrives in plurality. The tradition of open debate has continued till the 20th century, and we have always seen the argumentative Indians. The Orientalist discourse had started with a view of Sanskrit as dead language, and the researches and studies under it were presented in the format of postmortem reports. If it is dead, then only postmortem can be done. So it is done in that way. It is simply overlooked the life forces that sustained Sanskrit led to its resurrection after the so-called deaths. There have been researchers in West drawing their the bone of contention by the way of faking news and repeated deaths of Sanskrit. They also kept their eyes shut on the renaissance that occurred in the thought process and the knowledge systems cultivated in Sanskrit during the 19th and 20th century. Yet, the scenario remained dismal as the intellectuals and modern Sanskrit scholars in India joined hands with these outsiders and knowingly or unknowingly paved the way for the geopolitics that has been denying the continuous growth of Sanskrit-based knowledge systems. The conspiracy of silence functions at several levels, ignoring Indian indigenous technologies, creating a divide between the practices and the theory of the knowledge systems, and a denial of the attempts at viewing the knowledge systems in a holistic perspective. The knowledge systems like Vyakarana, Jyotisha, Chandas, Alankara, and Natyashastra developed through above mentioned 4 stages in India. The 4 stages in the early beginning I have mentioned. They remained vibrant and constantly growing. This is the nature of their growth. And Veda stands as basic source for these traditions. These 3 subjects were essentially taught. There were 3 subjects essentially taught during the Vedic period, that is Anvikshiki, logic, Trayi, that 3 Vedas, and Varta, agriculture and animal husbandry. Kauntilya later on added the 4th discipline in this trio, that is called Dandaniti, or the science of governance. From Veda, that is the Vedic Samhitas, and the Brahmana texts, 6 Vedangas are developed. These 6 Vedangas formed the first systematic corpus of Indian knowledge systems. 4 Vedas and 6 Vedangas counted with the 4 other intellectual traditions called Mimamsa, Nyaya, Dharmashastra, and Purana became 14 Vidyas. Mimamsa, Nyaya, Dharmashastra, and Purana, these altogether become 14. But in Chandogya Upanishad, it speaks of 19 Vidyas. But later, in a later text called named Shukranidhi, it takes the number to 32 Vidyasthanas. The history of these Vidyas or knowledge systems reveals their constant growth from one to many. As I told you in the beginning, Egoham Bahusyam. From growth from one to many, singularity to plurality through the 4 stages as I mentioned above. There is some reference to be made to Vyakarana. Vyakarana or grammar is said to be the base for all the intellectual traditions, not for one Shastra, several, mostly all the Shastras. Moolam Vyakaranam Proktam. It is famous. It has functioned as a feeder for various philosophical systems and had developed its own epistemology and ontology. Like other systems of knowledge, systems of Vyakarana had undergone through the stages of development during the course for more than 3 millennia. The great savants in the field of Vyakarana flourished during the second phase, that is the age of evolution, beginning from 1000 BC. It is in this era that authorities like Yaska, Vyadi, Panini, Patanjali, and Katyayana were born. The discourse under Vyakarana acquired philosophical depth and insights in the study of language during the first millennium AD. In this third phase of the development of this Shastra, that is Vyakarana, that the magnum opus of Bhartrhari, the famous Vakyapadiyam on the philosophy of grammar, was composed, and one of the most authoritative and voluminous exposition of a Paninian system called Kashika was also produced. In the second millennium of AD, the whole Vyakarana system was restructured through Navya Vyakarana. Just like Navya Nyaya, Navya Vyakarana tradition has come. And this it is neo-grammar. It is known as neo-grammar. And recently, there has been a revival of Ashtadhyayi, that is in the present scenario, the Ashtadhyayi tradition, and the whole Paninian system is being reinvented through suitable technical devices. The tradition of Vyakarana thus remained constantly growing. The well-known maxim, Uttarottaram Muninam Pramanyam, the validity of later thinkers is to be accepted in successive order, implies an idea of continuous growth in the system of Vyakarana, so that each successor has great authority than his illustrious predecessors. In fact, this fact stands in conformity to what Panini himself has accepted as a rule in his sutra, Vipradishethe Param Karyam. There also the latest one will be accepted, not the earlier one. In case of a contradiction, the later aphorism applies. Systems of philosophy, Brahma Vidya has been cited as one of the subjects in the curricula that must have been in the vogue during the Upanishadic period. Anvikshiki was philosophy in general, involving quest for knowledge and discussions on vital issues of life. Vital issues of life. So, in the second phase of the development of knowledge systems, the Brahma Vidya, together with Anvikshiki, developed into Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Yoga. The Sutra text spelling out the basic tenets of these systems in nutshell had been composed already in the BC era. Then came to the period of Bhashyas, coming to the period of Bhashyas, and intensive intellectual debates in the first millennium AD that we can see. In the second millennium, there was a renewal and resuscitation of these systems. Navyanyaya, new Vedantas, and new schools of Mimamsa arose at that time. And when you speak about Ayurveda, astronomy and mathematics, these are part of our great tradition of intellectual tradition of India. India's contribution to the development of Ayurveda, that is medical science, and Vriksha Ayurveda, horticulture and science of plants, as well as mathematics and astronomy is singularly important. Before 1000 BC, a first-hand knowledge of hundreds of herbs and medical plants is evinced in the Vedic Samhitas. In the second phase of the development of the Ayurveda between 1000 BC and the beginning of AD, great masters like Charaka, Sushruta, and Patanjali flourished. In the third phase, lying in the first millennium AD, experimentations and scientific spirits further proliferated with growth and Vidyas like the Vaidyas like Nagarjuna, Vagbhada, Madhava, Bhoja, Harishchandra, and others were born in this age. During the second millennium till now, we find new horizons opening up in this field. The treatises of Charaka, Chakradatta, Chakrapani, Bhava Mishra, with other commentaries, reveal the expanding frontiers of this discipline, Ayurveda. Ayurveda developed in the following branches: therapeutics, that is Chikitsa; anatomy, that is Kaya Vijnana; then surgery, that is, as you know, Shalya Chikitsa; and toxicology on Agata Tantra or Vishavijnana; and treatment of mental disorders, Bhuta Vidya; and diagnosis by pulse, that is Nadi Vidya. In the areas of mathematics, the numbers together with the methods of additions, subtractions, and multiplication were known to our ancients long before 1000 BC. The Yajna rituals provided a vibrant platform for development of various technical sciences as well as arts and crafts. The principles of geometry had to be applied precisely for constructing the sacrificial altars, Yajna Vedis. Satapada Brahmana prescribes 3 types of Vedis: square, circular, and semicircular. But Shilpa Sutras add various other types like rectangular, triangular, rhombus, and trapezium, etc. These were required to be constructed exactly as per the prescribed measurements. The theorem attributed to Pythagoras also, as you know very well, is very well in Vajasani Samhita of Yajurveda in the form of the what we call, that is recently invented, but it has already there in our very long before Pythagoras. And I'm skipping some portions due to the paucity of time. Here again, philosophy is, when you come to the philosophy, when you speak about darshanas, as we say, from Indian standpoint of view, philosophy is an insight, that is darshana, into the nature and meaning of the universe. And just as the breadth of a view depends on the altitude of the viewer, so that the depth of an insight depends on the mental and spiritual development of the philosopher. Thus, the validity of the traditions of philosophy will obviously vary. Traditionally, there are said to be 6 insights that orthodox systems I am speaking, non-orthodox also there, heterodox systems are also there, and they are known in twins, in Yugala, the Navyanya, the Nyaya Vaisheshika, the Sankhya Yoga, and the Purva Uttara Mimamsa, and like that. So it goes on like that, and Dr. Rajendran is the right person to give the very beautiful picture, the history and the development of the epistemological diversity of our Indian philosophy. The heritage of mankind in every sphere of knowledge is single throughout the world. Philosophy is no exception. what is needed is a global approach to philosophy. This does not mean that all antagonism should be written off. Philosophy has developed through the conflict of antagonistic ideas. The fundamental problems in philosophy has been that of relationship between consciousness and the matter. The problem has two aspects. What is primary, consciousness or matter? What is the status of the world, whether it is cognizable or not? The solution put forward is to divide them and put into two different camps. Here, in the idealist and materialist, according to idealism, consciousness or idea is primary and the matter is only secondary. Idealism stresses the illusionary nature of the world, whereas materialists treat the world as completely cognizable. The history of philosophy hitherto is the history of conflict between idealism and materialism, which form two basic trends of philosophy. I would like to conclude my inaugural speech with a quote from Professor Rajendran, C. Rajendran, the today's speaker, in his work on philosophy from Calicut University. I quote, without belittling the contribution of Advaita and other idealistic schools of thought, it can be pointed out that Indian philosophy is to be conceived as an umbrella terms comprehending a variety of diverse approaches from the most die-hard materialism to the most abstract idealism. Recognition of the significance of the marginalized schools of thought is therefore crucial in any contemporary engagement with Indian philosophy. I unquote. With these observations, I want to give a continuation to Sri Rajendran. That's why I have given a quote, a valuable observation of Professor Sri Rajendran on Indian philosophical systems. With these humble observations, I beg to remain. Namaskaram.
Thank you, sir. I personally believe that you have not only the epistemological traditions in Indian philosophy, you have thrown light to Indian learning systems itself. And there is a very thought-provoking talk, and it was wonderfully, definitely all our viewers will take into spirit that many of the points you raised, that is especially Sanskrit knowledge systems to be that was the key for the Indian philosophy, how India survived through the Sanskrit-based knowledge systems. And I think we lost in somewhere the Sanskrit-based knowledge systems, and the revival of its Sanskrit-based knowledge systems is also very much essential, for which our Kantaloor Sala is definitely working for that. Now, we are very happy that one among the foremost academicians is here with us, Professor C. Rajendran. And I am so proud to say that Professor Rajendran is the recipient of several awards, including Kerala Sahitya Academy Award for Literary Criticism, G.N. Pillai Endowment Award, Professor M.S. Menon Endowment Award, Kerala Panini Award, I.C. Chako Endowment Award, Vajaspati Award, Parikshit Award, and O.K. Munshi Award. He got the prestigious Ramakrishna Sanskrit Award issued by Canadian World Education Foundation for outstanding contributions in teaching and research. So an outstanding person is with us to talk on epistemological traditions in Indian philosophy. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Subramanian Moses. Esteemed Sri Narayanan Poti, who is the president of this session, my long-standing friend, Dr. Murali Madhavan, a lot of friends I see in the panel who are with us presently today. This is today's talk is about epistemology, and I don't know how much of time is at my disposal at the outset. Perhaps Mr. Moses could enlighten me on that so that I could
Sir, definitely you can take
adjust my
45 to
speech.
50 minutes.
45,
and,
okay,
question
okay.
and-
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It's because epistemology is one of the most difficult subjects in philosophy. Will Durand, who has written a wonderful book called Pleasures of Philosophy, speaks about philosophy as a mansion, and it has several rooms. One is called ontology, the other is epistemology, then you have got aesthetics, then you have got ethics, like that. Among them, aesthetics is accepted by, is a very beautiful aspect of philosophy. Epistemology, what is epistemology? Epistemology is derived from the word episteme, and it is that branch of philosophy which deals with knowledge. Yeah. So epistemology, in epistemology, we'll be asking questions. Philosophers are very difficult customers. We don't know what they are thinking all the while. The outside world may not be aware of what is going on in their mind. But we can say in a nutshell that they will be always interested in ultimate questions. For example, Socrates, if you argue with Socrates, you may casually say that this is good or this is bad. Then Socrates will ask you the question, what do you mean by good? Then you are in for a nasty surprise. You say that I know what is good, you also know what is good. But if you ask me to define what is good, it is going to open up a Pandora's box. So that is philosophy all about. So in epistemology, we are always asking the question of the nature of knowledge. All of us, come into contact with an outside reality world. Can we believe what we know through our sensory organs? Can we believe in these things? Can we believe in our knowledge? There are two types of knowledge, according to just a minute. Yeah, meeting, please. So we are speaking about epistemology. So there are, according to Bertrand Russell, there are two types of knowledge. One is knowledge by acquaintance, the other is by description. We describe about things, so then we understand what it is. Then we have got knowledge through our acquaintance, which is somewhat connected with the pratyaksha, anumana, etc., etc. So this is the knowledge which we get. We are flooded by knowledge at every moment. There was a great philosopher called Aldous Huxley, who said that we have got 5 sensory organs. We believe that they are, they are the means of knowing the outside world. But Huxley says that they are walls, because the knowledge is so vast and deep. And if all the knowledge would bombard us, we will not be able to, our consciousness will not be able to survive the assault. Such is the magnitude of knowledge. So we have to be selective about our knowledge. That is why we have got 5 sensory organs, and we will see things, we will experience things which we get filtered through our senses. That is absolutely correct. But still, our knowledge is very formidable, and the philosopher will be always fond of asking, what is knowledge? What is its sources? How do you derive knowledge? That is the second question. And what are the objects of knowledge? That's a very big question. Do you believe that there is an objective reality beyond your knowledge? There are systems in thought which do not believe that there is anything outside your knowledge. But do you believe that the bench and the desk and the chair and the light before you and all the people whom you see every day, are they all figments of your imagination, or are they real objects? This is a very difficult question, and the philosopher has to ask such questions. Then if you believe in your knowledge, okay, yes, I believe in my knowledge because I believe that there is Kantaloor, this deemed university, something. I believe that there is an office, there is a place called Trivandrum, there is a place called Calicut, like that. But then can I believe everything I know to be true? Then why do I commit errors? Sometimes that happens. Looking at a person who is coming from a distance, I may mistake him for X. Actually, he may be Y. So why does such an error happen in the first place? And if we have got such errors, what is the filter through which we will be able to understand what is real and what is unreal? These are some of the pivotal questions which have been asked not only in Western philosophy, but in Indian philosophy also. So I'm not going deep into Western philosophy. It may take a very big lecture for that, but I will be today confining myself to Indian philosophical traditions, how they have dealt with this question. Before entering into this topic, I have to say a few words why they entered into such an area of discourse in the first place. Because if you study Indian philosophical history, we can see that there is something called the age of the systems, which roughly came into being around the first century AD. Before that, we had got a lot of philosophical speculations, which we find in the Rig Veda, as our learned president had quoted Nasadiya Sukta. Then we had the great Upanishads, and roughly at that time we had the great Buddha, and even before him probably there was the Jaina, Marthavana, Mahavira, etc., etc. Then there were Ajivagas, there were Sravanagas, and a lot of people who were engaged in philosophical speculations. Some of them have been committed to writing, some unfortunately have not been. So that is the type of discourse that was there before the first century AD. And what happened is that Buddhism, raised certain fundamental questions about the whole Vedic corpus of literature. Because generally speaking, we make a difference between Vedic systems and the non-Vedic systems. The Vedic systems are called mostly they are called Astika Darshanas, and the non-Vedic systems, the Buddhists, the Charvakas, and the Jainas are generally labeled under the Avaidika system or Nastika system. But Nastika and Astika are loaded terms. So many people do believe that you believe in a God, then you are an Astika. If you do not believe in a God, it is Nastika. Asti Nasti Dishtam Madi. That is a Paninian aphorism. But there are several interpretations, and the most generally accepted view is that those who take Veda to be the Pramana, they are the Astikas. So what happened is that under Gautama Buddha and his disciples, there was a formidable, discourse which questioned the very foundations of the Vedic philosophy, whether Veda can be regarded as a Pramana at all. How Pramana means a source of valid knowledge. Prama is correct knowledge. Aprama or Brahma is false knowledge. So whichever generates, true knowledge is called a Pramana. And so that was a fundamental question, whether Veda can be regarded as a Pramana. If so, why? Why it can be regarded as a Pramana? The Charvakas had in the very beginning, from the very beginning, questioned the nature of the Veda, the Pramanya of Veda. So what happened is that in ancient India, as my friend Dr. Muralidharan Madhavan has pointed out, there was a lot of argumentation. Indians are Amartya Sen called them the argumentative Indians. So we are so fond of, just like in our channel discussions of nowadays, Indians were always fond of discussing questions, pros and cons, and asking in a very friendly manner. You will be very prepared. You will be not like the channel discussions, but in a very democratic spirit. You want to know what is the Purvaksha, then you will be able to answer. And on the basis of the Purvaksha, you will be reworking, you will be refining your own position. That is the manner in which Indian philosophy has grown. So what happened is that from the first century onwards, these questions, there were some skepticism about the things which you take for granted. You accept it prima facie, you accept them without doubt, then they are questioned. So you have to look from the very beginning, you have to define your axioms, You have to understand, you have to define knowledge, you have to define what are the means of knowledge. This is the manner in which, epistemology developed in Indian philosophy. The age of systems, when the systems came into being, like the Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purvamimamsa, Uttaramimamsa, and a lot of Uttaramimamsa is also like a umbrella term. It signifies several types of Vedanta. Then apart from that, there are several other systems, hundreds of systems, we should say. Hundreds of systems were there in India. And then the Buddhism itself is you have got the Theravada, the earlier type of Buddhism, then you have got later, there are at least four major schools, those who believe in the outside world, those who are idealists, who do not believe in the outside world, the Mahayana, the Hinayana, then the Charvakas, like that there are the Jainas, the Digambaras and the Shedambaras and their own inner sectors. And there are a number of such systems which came into being around the 1st century AD, and they formulated their concepts in systems, and they addressed these questions of epistemology in a wonderful manner, in a very systematic manner. And these discussions, which are, scattered throughout the philosophical literature of ancient India, are now being decoded. They are being studied with all seriousness. Unfortunately, this is not done in a very big way in India. But if you go to the intellectual centers of Europe or America or many other countries, developed countries, you will see that these questions are of vital importance to modern philosophers, and they are engaged in decoding the text, contextualizing them. This is the background of our today's discussion. So first of all, I mentioned the orthodox systems and the heterodox systems, and then all these systems, whether they are orthodox or heterodox, they map the universe. They have got a concept of the universe. The universe around us, is it material or is it a projection of the consciousness? This is one of the fundamental questions asked by the systems. Suppose you take the stand that it is material, the Nyaya Vaisheshika, for example, say that the soul is there, the soul is an entity, but around that you have got a material universe. And if you analyze that universe, you will reach ultimate elements called the atoms. This is their view, and this is called atomic pluralism. This is atomic pluralism. Then you have got the Sankhya and to a large extent the yoga system. They also believe in the dichotomy of the spirit and matter. And matter and spirit are fundamentally different from each other. The matter is called Prakriti, and the spirit, the consciousness, is called Purusha. They are totally different. They appear to be allied to each other, but they are separate. One analogy given by them is this Pushkara Palasha. Take a lotus leaf and you pour water to it. What will happen? The water apparently sticks to this leaf, but when you drop it, the water will be completely removed. This is the condition of the Purusha or the consciousness. It is encompassed by a body of matter, but this matter and this spirit are both fundamentally different. And this matter is called Prakriti. And the Sankhya's do not believe in analyzing these things into atoms. They believe that everything, whether it is a cause or the effect, they are only changes in the state, and there is no fundamental change. So you have got only one undifferentiated Prakriti from which there is this evolution or parinama going on. So you can see that much before Darwin, Indians had speculated on this evolutionism in a very different manner. So Prakriti is always evolving. It is never stagnant. There is a theory of this Sankhya. Then you have got many the schools like in the Mimamsakas, they also accept this material universe and the spirit which is different from that, more or less like the Nyaya Vaisheshika system. Then if you come to the Vedanta system, In the Vedanta, ultimately everything is the consciousness. Everything is, you can, if you want to conceive of the whole of the cosmos, according to Vedanta of Shankara, it is like an ocean of consciousness. And everything which emerges is an apparent transformation, not an ultimate transformation. So all the material objects, everything is an appearance, and ultimately it is not real. So this is their position. So I was just mentioning these views in order to give you a rough idea of the ontological position. Ontology is the the concept of the world according, or the reality according to various systems, what is real and what is system. So we can see different perceptions. The Buddhists, again, in Buddhism also there is a view that everything, our world itself is a projection of our knowledge. Apart from the knowledge, there is no real thing. Then there is the Shunyatavada of Madhyamikas. Absolutely everything is void, Shunya, that is a theory. Then there is the Sarvastivadin theory, which believes that there is an outside reality, but we will not be able to directly experience the reality, because reality is always changing. Kshanikavada, like that. So when I see something already, what I see is A1, the object is A, what I see is A1, A1 is not A, but it is similar to that. So it is in a flux. The whole world is in a flux, like a candle burning. This is their theory. So they have got all their own systems. They have got their own systems of universe. And here, then they have to justify these systems. Why we arrive at such conclusions? Why I am mapping the universe like this? Why my position is correct? Why it is not erroneous? For that, you have to define what is reality. You have to define what is knowledge. You have to define the methods of knowledge. This is all done in Indian philosophical systems. So, and another thing is very interesting. It is only in India that we find that knowledge is always related to release. Most of the systems of Indian philosophy, except perhaps the Charvakas, believe that this world is full of sorrow and miseries, and ultimately you have to get a release from this world. This release, they have got different concepts. One school says it is moksha. One school says that it is kaivalya, kevalasya bhavaha, kaivalya, aloofness from prakriti. And there are many sayujya, like that. There are several words which denote this type of release. And this it is also conceived in different manners. And you can have this release only through knowledge. Even a die-hard realistic philosophy like the Nyaya, with the very first sutra, these about the pramana, prameya, etc. Why? Because you want to get nishreyas, you want to get a release. You want to get a release, and you will get it only through correct knowledge of the reality. And the reality consists of this prameya, or that is which is known, and the pramanas and the categories of argument. This is their method. So everywhere, jnana devatu kaivalya. This is a fundamental axiom of the Advaita Vedanta. Every system has got so much of at stake that they take knowledge, right knowledge, to be absolutely important. In any you don't find this type of perspective in Western philosophy. They philosophize that you have got their own methods, but it is related to the final purushartha of moksha in a very pronounced degree in Indian systems. And so you have got right knowledge is necessary. Okay, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees. Right knowledge is necessary. And the second, there should be a proper methodology to ascertain what is right knowledge. There should be a methodology to understand what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is false. And this also you will have to spell out. So this is the business of Indian philosophy. So you have to define what is knowledge, how it is produced, how you can believe in it, how is there any scope of error in knowledge, like that. So there is a slight difference between Indian West epistemology and Western epistemology. Both the Indian West epistemology and Western epistemology, it is in a very general manner I am speaking about that. Both they discuss nature and sources of knowledge, and they have got their own theories of sense perception in Indriya. If through the Indriyas you get knowledge, both take into consideration possibilities of perceptual error. That is, sometimes our eyes may mislead us. We see something. Suppose you are having the Indian classic example is this. Suppose you have got a jaundice and you look at a white conch and you will think that it is yellow. Your eyes are deceiving you. What to do? But that experience is true, and so you have to accept it. So this type of, so there is perceptual error. Sometimes you hear somebody is calling you over phone. Somebody is calling you. Mistake somebody for somebody else. That happens every day for us, and so we have to understand what is true, what is error, and is there any possibility of us detecting the error? What are the tests which we have to take in order to see that we are not fooled by errors? What we believe are correct. These are some of the concerns of both Indian philosophy and Western philosophy. Now, but at the same time, there are some differences. Indian philosophy treats knowledge as a species of awareness or cognition. So that is it. In India, it is knowledge is always connected with your soul, your Atman. Even the Charvakas who do not believe in an Atman, they believe that there is no Atman separate from the body. That is what they say. But you have got a psychic apparatus. You have got a mind of your own. There, this knowledge is stored up. The knowledge is processed, and the knowledge is turned into samskaras. Everything happens. So knowledge is a species of awareness or cognition. But in Western concept, it is a totally different approach. To them, it is a question of belief. Bertrand Russell has written a paper. I believe that you can say, I believe that everything which I see around me is true. I believe that Kerala is a geographical entity. Like that, you can go on say. That's what, for the Westerners, it is like that. Indians are very cautious. They do not say, they do not drag belief. It is not a question of belief. It is a question of whether it is true or false. Then in India, another thing is in Western concept, knowledge is a dispositional, because from the moment you are born, you know things. But in India, knowledge is always episodic. Episodic is an event. When I look at a pot and I have got the knowledge of the pot. And then I have got another knowledge, that is another episode, like in a serial, a TV serial, you have got different episodes. You have got different episodes every time, every day, every moment you have got episodes. That is a very fundamental, foundational difference between Indian and Western, epistemology. Then doubt also is episodic. In Western tradition, you can be skeptic by temperament. You don't believe in anything which is presented. That is there. That is a philosophical form of skepticism. But in India, what happens is that you have got a knowledge. Then sometimes you have got a doubt whether this is true or not. So that is also episodic. Samshaya or doubt, that is episodic. And there is no room for foundational skepticism. Even Buddhists, the Madhyamikas, no, they accept certain things at least of practical value. So you cannot go on doubting everything and lead a life. It is not possible. You have to believe in certain things, You have to, just as we say, we have to trust people. Otherwise, how can you live? So you trust that your friend will not betray you. Okay. But sometimes that is betrayed. What to do? But at the same time, you have to continue. Similarly, every day you have got thousands of episodes of knowledge. And are you going to doubt all of them? Then you will be put into a madhouse, you will be put into a lunatic asylum, because you cannot conduct your day-to-day business. So Indians do not believe in foundational skepticism. They regard that doubt is also episodic. And in India, the question is, how do we know what we know? It's a question. It's a very interesting question. How do we know what we know? We know many things, We know many things through our direct experience. For example, we see that a rose is a rose because we can see the rose. We can taste things. We can touch things. We can feel like that. So through our panchendriyas, we will be in a position to directly, come into contact with the object and gather knowledge. That is there. Apart from that, we use our reason. On the basis of that reason, we go to a mountain where there we see smoke, and we have from our umpteen experiences seen that there will be smoke only when there is fire. We use there should be some fire if there is some smoke is what we use in a folkloristic manner, but the Nayayikas, they're staple that they always use this. And so when we see the smoke on the mountain, we are sure that there is fire because that is a logical deduction. That is Anumana. So through Anumana, we understand a lot of things through our intellect, through our reasoning. In fact, the cutting edge of human beings, the Homo species, is that we have got the power of reason. The other lower forms of animals, most of them do not have this capacity to deduce things. So they have only the experience through direct knowledge. That is, so Anumana is very important, but the Charvakas do not accept Anumana. That is a big problem. At least some schools of Charvaka may not accept Anumana. I don't know whether I will be able to devote some time for that. Let us see. So then sometimes we trust other people. For example, you trust a dictionary to understand what is the meaning of a word, because you know that the Oxford dictionary will not deceive you. So you go to the dictionary and you consult. Or your teacher will be telling you this is true or like that, and you believe in him. Your preceptor will be telling you, your parents will be telling you, or your friend from abroad will be telling you this is the condition. Don't come here. It is very, you don't come here. It is very turbulent nowadays. Your friend will be telling you from foreign country, then you will believe in him. So this is Shabda. This is Shabda. The Veda is Shabda. So Veda is to be regarded as Pramana by the orthodox systems. Then sometimes analogy is there. Analogy is again, suppose you have never seen a computer in your life, and you have seen a typewriter and you have seen a TV, and you can tell him it is like a TV with a keyboard is a computer, more or less a computer. And when you tell somebody, he will remember that. Or suppose you go to a railway station and you have to receive a guest. You do not know who he is, but you know his brother, his twin brother, and somebody will tell you this exactly like the twin brother. So you go there and you will find out him. And that is Upamana, that is analogy. These are all knowledge, the systems of knowledge, and the Prabhagaras, and the Bhattas of the Mimamsaka philosophy, they believe in another system, that is presumption, Arthavati. Suppose Mr. Devadatta does not eat anything. He's starving, virtually starving every day. But every day he is getting fatter and fatter. So what will you think? There are two facts. These cannot be reconciled. This can be reconciled only when you presume something. You presume that he will be eating by night. Then Devadattaha, Pino Devadattaha, Divana Bhute. So he doesn't eat by night a day, but then he is getting fatter and fatter. So we have to assume that he eats at night. So that is also a means of knowledge according to the Prabhagaras. Then the teachers some of us are teachers. We go to the classroom, we take attendance. At that time we say that one person is not there. You say absent. How do you know that that person is not there? But his absence you understand. How do you understand the absence? For that you have got a means of knowledge, that is Anupalapti. So these are some of the pramanas accepted in classical Indian philosophy. Some people accept only one pramana, that is the Charvakas. They believe they are rational beings. They say that it is only through sensory organs that you can have reliable knowledge. Even inference or anumana is not a pramana, because you see, wherever you see that there is smoke, so you infer that there is fire. So, and you say wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Then why? Because we have always seen like that. Then the Charvakas will be asking the question, you have so far seen But what guarantee is there that you will be having the same experience in future also? So such questions are being raised by the Charvakas. So they accept only this pratyaksha or said direct knowledge as a pramana. Then the Vaisheshikas, as the Buddhists, they accept pratyaksha and anumana. And the Sankhyas accept shabda also as a pramana. Then the Nyaya Vaisheshika accept upamana also pramana. And the Prabhagaras accept arthabhati. And the Bhata system accept the Anubalabdhi also. And some systems like Pavananigas, they speak about Aidihya, etc. And these are also regarded as pramana, not by the mainstream philosophers. So it is through these methods, these means, that you get correct knowledge. Then what is knowledge? How do you define knowledge? It's also a very philosophical question. According to the Nyaya Vaisheshika system, it is a Vaisheshika guna of Atman. It is a quality which inheres in a substance called the Atman. According to the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy, Atman is a padartha. It is a it is a dravya. It is a substance, and all the substances have qualities, and Atman is a substance, and it has got this quality of jnana or knowledge. And but there are the other systems like the Sankhya Yoga and Vedanta. They look upon knowledge as modification, vritti. You can see that the very first aphorism in yoga, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the complete, control of the vrittis or the modifications of the mind, the chitta. So the chitta, according to the yoga system and the Sankhya system, is the antakarana, or the inner organ through which we understand things, and it always undergoes modifications. That is, whenever you are exposed to a reality through your sensory organs, at that time your mind will be always swayed by them. Your mind will assume the form of the object, and always your mind will be turbulent. Kalidasa has very beautifully described this during when he was describing the penance of Shiva. When Shiva was doing his penance, Kalidasa compares Shiva to a flame of a lamp. The flame of a lamp which is put in a place which does not have any sort of wind. What will happen when it is a windy place? The flame will be flickering, it will be unsteady. But when there is absolutely no air passage, everything is still, what will happen to the flicker, the flame of the lamp? It will be steady, it will go up, it will remain, motionless. So this is the ideal state according to the yoga system. When you control your mind, you remove all the modifications, the mind becomes crystal clear so that it can reflect the Purusha properly. And that happens in the Samadhi stage, according to. So according to the Sankhya, the Yoga and Vedanta, this knowledge is a form of vritti, the vritti. And in the Vedanta, you can see very interesting things. Suppose you are looking at it, an elephant. What will happen? Your the antakarana or your inner organ will go stream outside. It will go through your eyes to the elephant, and it will become the elephant. It will become one with the elephant at that time. That is why there is an elephant outside, but in your mental empire, you have got an elephant. That elephant is your own, chakshurindriya, or the sensory organ, which goes out through your eyes and goes to the place that elephant and becomes one with the elephant. That is their vritti. So with the deep psychological insight, these people have fashioned their own concepts. So we can generally say that it is a guna or a quality according to the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy, and it is a vritti according to the other some of the major other systems. Now we come to the structure of knowledge. The knowledge is called prama, and correct knowledge, and wrong knowledge is called brahma. There are several theories about prama and brahma. what is real knowledge and what is illusion or unreal knowledge. And the correct knowledge is derived from sources knowledge or pramanas. And this we have discussed these pramanas, which are 6 in number. And the things which are known are called prameyas. They are called prameya. Nowadays we speak about a motion in an assembly is called a prameya. Yeah, that is correct. It is a prameya. It is something which has to be discussed. That is how it came into being. So prameya, but in the Indian philosophical parlance, it means the object of knowledge and constituting the world. So one of the biggest problems plaguing Indian philosophy, what is the relationship between me and the world? Me and the world. According to the Nyaya Vaisheshika system, the relationship between me is not a C, Rajendran. Everyone of us is a me. Okay, so me and the world is there is some sort of a relationship, and that is called Vishayata. That is Vishayata. They have got even a book called Vishayatavad. The entire universe is a Vishaya or an object of our knowledge, and it exists as an object in ourselves through our knowledge. Jnanasya Vishaya. That is how they look upon the world. Then the relationship between the cognitive event and its object is structured by the pramana. And pramana, it is the very nature of knowledge has got a stamp of the pramana. Suppose you see something, suppose you hear something, what happens? That is a very comprehensive form of understanding. But suppose you see a car coming, you understand it is a car, unless there is some problem with your eyes or something like that. But suppose you are on the first floor and you see a horn, you hear a horn, and you understand that a car has come. That is an indirect, that is anumana, that is indirect. But nevertheless, it is correct knowledge, even though you have not seen it directly. So what I was saying is that the nature of the knowledge depends upon the pramana or the means of knowledge. So what you understand through somebody telling you, there is a city called Delhi, that is Shabda Pramana. But you go to Delhi and you see for yourself, that is Pratyaksha. So Pratyaksha and Anumana and Shabda, Upamana, etc., all of them give you knowledge, but they are qualitatively different. All these knowledges are qualitatively different. And it is the pramana which creates knowledge, and there is another problem of authenticating knowledge. You have to verify whether this is correct or not. That also is done by pramana, according to Indian systems. So we have, I discussed the number of pramanas, so I am not going directly dealing into that. Now, we come to a very, very interesting controversy which has plagued Indian philosophy like anything. See, the Mimamsakas. See, they believe in the Vedas, they believe in the scriptures, and they say that whatever is said in the Veda is to be taken without any type of questions. This is the view of the Prabhagaras. It is like you have got the Constitution of India, and it tells you to do certain things. It tells you not to do certain things. Suppose somebody asks, why should I do that? There are two ways of approaching the thing. One way is that if you disobey that, you will be jailed, you will be punished for that. So for fear of punishment, you have to obey the rule. But there is another system, another school, which is very much like the Bhagavad Gita. It is your duty. There is a poem, in English poem, about the charge of the light brigade. The light brigade was asked to charge. They knew that it is a wrong command, but they charged, and all of them got killed in that war. So this is the dharma of a warrior, a kshatriya. So similarly, the Prabhagaras seem to believe that what Veda says have to be taken without any type of question. It is like somebody tells you, speak only truth. Then you should, suppose you ask, why should I speak truth? Then the Prabhagaras will tell you, if you do not speak truth, you will be violating the code, that's all. Whatever happens is not our concern, you will be violating the code. Okay. So this is how they look upon it. So in order to authenticate the Vedas, then how are you going to prove that the Vedas are pramana? The Vedas are pramana. How? According to the Nyaya Vaisheshika, the Vedas are the words of Tadvaya Vachana Sabhnayasya Pramana. They are the words of the God. Therefore, they are Pramana. The Mimamsakas do not seriously believe in a God. That is a big problem with them. They believe in the Vedas. And they say that the Vedas do not require any authentication. They are by nature Pramana because they have been eternal. They have, like our physical laws of the universe, like the laws of gravitation, they have been always there. Then why should you doubt about that? So that is how they look upon it. So on the basis of this, there's a huge controversy about knowledge. Whether you can believe in your knowledge or not is a question. The Mimamsakas generally and Prabhagaras especially believe that you can believe in knowledge. Knowledge will always be correct. So this system, this approach, this theory is called Swatapramanya. Swatapramanya. By inherently, knowledge is true. You know, if you go on doubting, it is like doubting the chastity of one's wife. If you start doubting, everything will be doubtful. But you believe it, no, or you believe that he is truthful. You believe that knowledge will always be true, like that. So no test is necessary, no Agri Parisha is necessary for that knowledge, according to that. According to the Nyaya Vaisheshika and many other systems, knowledge is always, normally it is true, but sometimes what happens, because of some external factors, it may be, it may not be correct. So they would say that what is real knowledge, according to them, a knowledge in which tadvadi tadvat prakarakaha anubhavaha yathartha. Atadvadi tadvat prakarakaha anubhavaha ayathartha. So suppose X is characterized by Y, and you have got a knowledge X as characterized by Y, it is correct. But suppose you have got a knowledge Z characterized by Y, then that is wrong. Suppose you look at a pot and you understand that it's a pot, it is correct knowledge. But suppose you look at a lump of clay and think that it is a pot, then that is wrong. So there is right and wrong. That is why people score high marks in mathematics and very 0 marks, because there is truth and there is a falsehood. So the Nayayikas, true realists, they say that it is there. And the Prabhagaras say that, suppose, no, it is not like that. Suppose you have got a knowledge of, you look at something, and this is a silver. You see a shell, a shukrika, a shell which you get from the beach. It is white in color, but you have some problem with the light, and you believe that it is a silver. Is it correct knowledge or false knowledge? It is a false knowledge, but it is not the fault of your knowledge. According to Prabhagaras, you analyze this knowledge, you find that this portion, this, how can you say that this is wrong? It is correct. The Rajata, the silver. How can you say that the very idea of silver is something wrong? You have seen silver and you have got the memory in your impression of it in your memory, stored in your memory. What happens is that that impression and this perception, this direct experience, they got mixed up, unfortunately. That is why it is the so-called erroneous knowledge. Actually, if you analyze it into units, both of the units are correct. And there is nothing wrong in the very idea of silver. There is nothing wrong in the very idea of either. But when they are coalesced into knowledge, you have got this false perception. So this is how this Swatapramanya and Paradapramanya. So Advaita, Mimamsa and Sankhya believe in Swatapramanya, and they say that you need not have any criterion for truth. Knowledge is always like water is colorless, odorless, like that we have studied in our chemistry classes. But suppose you find that the water is muddy, it has a foul smell. Is it the fault of water? No, it is a fault of all these ingredients which has crept into water. Similarly, knowledge taken by itself is correct, good, it is valid. But unfortunately, sometimes there will be some sort of malinya, some sort of external things. That is why it is like that. So truth does not require any sort of explanation. It is only error which requires explanation. And the validity of knowledge is automatically known according to the Sutta Pramanyavada. Like that. I can go on explaining. I don't know how much of time will be at my disposal. So I will just go through that. But according to the Nyaya Vaisheshika, no, all knowledge is suspect until proven to be valid. So you have to look at knowledge in a very, what you call tentative. You can accept them tentatively. Then you have to apply the test of validity. And what is the test of validity? The test of validity is utility. That is samvadi pravritti janakatva. I will give you an example. Suppose you are in a desert and you see water in a distance. Marichika. It is a marichika. In English, we call it is a mirage. It is you feel that there is water, but there is no water. And so how do you know that this is what I have seen is true or not? You go there, and if you get water and you quench your thirst, then that is the test for knowledge. So according to the Nyaya Vaisheshika, the test for knowledge is practical. Suppose this is, you have got idam rajatam. The test is you melt it, and if you can make the ornaments with it, it is rajata. Otherwise, it is not rajata. This is according to them. The Prabhagara say that no, it is very dangerous. Suppose I dream that I am in a desert, and I find that there is water in a distance in my dream. And in my dream, I go to that place. I find water in my dream. I drink the water in my dream. Does it mean that this is real? Because I have tested it, but that also in the test. So you don't go for this practical verification. It will be creating new and new problems. So believe in knowledge. And if there is some problem, it is because of the wrong identification of two things. That is how they look upon knowledge. So these are some of the theories. So I will just sum up, and so that we can have some discussion later. So there are several theories of error in Indian philosophy. One is called Anyadhakyadi. Other knowledge in a different manner. What is given and what is presented through our knowledge are different. The object is A to the power of A. The knowledge given to you is A to the power of B. That is wrong. This is the view of Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and the Dvaidins. Then there is Atmakhyadi of the Yogacara, Buddhist Yogacharas. They said that everything around you is wrong. Your life is worse than a dream. And so you cannot believe in these things. So everything is your own consciousness that is externalized. It's a big theory. It will take hours for me to explain that theory. Your consciousness is externalized as objects. So everything is wrong according to Yogacara Buddhists. Then there is Asathyadi of the Madhyamika system. They are nihilists. They don't believe in anything. They believe in zero, something like that. So non-being objects like silver are cognized according to, so things are not there. So things do not exist, but you have got a cognition of these things. Then the Akhyadi, non-discrimination, that we have discussed in the Prabhagaras. Then Viparita Khyadi, Bhatta system, they are more or less like the Nyaya Vaisheshika system. Then we come to, I have to explain a bit, this Nirvachaniya Khyadi. The Vedanta, because all of you are, I know, are fond of, I am also fond of Vedanta. It is a wonderful system. So what our Aryambya had rendered a beautiful verse, Visham Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. It's a beautiful concept of Shankaracharya. So according to Advaita, what is there? You know, the world, there is a world around you. There are degrees of reality. Something, degrees of reality. What do you mean by that? Some things are unreal, real for the time being. Some things are real, more real than these. Suppose there are three categories, A, B, and C. A is real for the very time being. B is more real than A, but not as real as C. C is absolutely real. Can you imagine such a scenario? The Dvaidins project these three types of reality. First of all, you have got this pratibhasika satta, illusion. what we call illusion. In our this, you look at the famous, the Advaitins are very fond of this Rajju Sarpa Bhranti. All of you know that. You look at a piece of rope and you think that it is a snake. So that is pradipasika. But for the time being, it is real. That is why you jump, you shout, you are frightened. So it is real for the time being. But when it is over, you realize that it is a mistaken notion. So it is not unreal. When we come to our Vyavaharika life, our ordinary life, according to Advaitin, these things are real. If I get money, that is real money. If I get food, it is also real money. Food, I eat, I conduct everything. Everything for transaction, practical utility. So far as practical utility is concerned, you can believe. But what happens? What happens to your present when it becomes past? It is something like an impression in your mind. The present is not with us for always. So what happens in the ultimate state of consciousness? Even this Vyavaharika Satta will have only a provisional reality. It is called provisional reality. It is not absolutely real. So then what is absolutely real is which is in Trikala, which is always true in the past, in the present, and in the future. That is the Paramarthika Satta. The Vyavaharika Satta will be what you call cancelled after it is over. The Pradipasika Satta also will be cancelled. So this is their view. But you have to bear in one thing in mind. Even in the illusion, the object is there. The object is there in the illusion at the time of the illusion. You cannot say that there is no object. There is an object, but that object is in the illusion. It has a Pradipasika Satta. Now, then how do you define error? According to the Advaitins, you cannot say it is either real or unreal. Satchenna, asatchenna pradiyeda, satchenna bhathyeda. That is their formula. If it are totally unreal, just totally unreal, you will not have, in the first place, you don't have the knowledge of it. Then satchenna bhathyeda. If it were real in the real sense, it will not be cancelled by a subsequent knowledge. So asatchenna pradiyeda, satchenna bhathyeda. So how do you describe this type of error? It's sadasat vilakshana. It is different from sat and asat. And so we will say it is indescribable. It is anirvachani. So we can say the world, the error has got different grades and it is anirvachani. This is the view of Shankaracharya and Advaitins. Now, I think that I will stop. So we have to stop somewhere. There are a lot of other things also, but maybe it is not a good idea to, go deeper and deeper in the single talk. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. And I'll be very happy if I will be able to throw some light to your doubts. I don't claim that I'm a sarvatnya or anything like that, but you can seek for clarification, questions. If you disagree with me, that also you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We have one question in the chat box. I'll post the question and then I will hand over the system to our moderator today is Dr. Ramamurthy is there. He will handle, but the question I will ask is Sankhya an orthodox philosophy? They don't accept Veda's authority. That is a question.
Yeah. The Sankhya, they accept the Vedic, they do not deny the Vedas. That is why they are called Astika system. Because maybe in the beginning, probably the Sankhya had different phases. In the beginning, probably they were skeptical about the Vedic tradition. But you can find that the Sankhya elements are very much described in early Upanishads, like Kadhopanishads. So you cannot, they don't have any problem with the Vedas as such. All this, sometimes you accept Veda as a lip service, you accept it. Sometimes you accept certain portions of Veda, for example, the Vedantins. Shankara. They accept the Veda, but they say about the Karma Kanda, they have got their own views. So when you say that you accept Vedas, you have got your own views of the Veda. That also. But there are people who do not accept it anyway, in any manner. They are called the unorthodox or heterodox systems, like the Charvakas, the Buddhists, and the Jainists. They do not regard the Vedas valid. No. But the Sankhya's, the Yoga, the Nyaya, the Vaisheshika, all of them. Vaisheshika had the same problem. See, they accept the Vedas and they interpret in their own systems. That you have to bear in mind. Okay.
Can I?
Here, actually, Dr. C. Rajendran, I have a doubt about it, that Ishvara Krishna, the well-known Sankhya philosopher, in his Sankhya Karya, I think it is second or third Karya, he says that Drishtapada Anushravikaha. So Anushravika is Anushruyate iti Anushravaha, Tasmin Bhavaha Anushravikaha, Namo Veda Mantra ityartha. So this Veda Mantra, what is told in Veda Mantra, the Upayas for Dukha Bhigada, they are Drishtavat. They are just like seen in the world, they are futile. They have no, so they, in the beginning, they say like this, that they don't accept the Vedic Upayas. So how we can come to that? What is your observation over this?
See, actually, I think I can read Professor Hiriyana. He is the great scholarly philosopher. I will just read what he has said about that. The pramanas accepted here are only three: perception, inference, and verbal testimony. The system, being derivative, has not developed these details separately and seem to have borrowed them from the Nyaya, Vaisheshika, so far as they are not inconsistent with its metaphysical viewpoint. So that is how it is interpreted. And so they don't have any quarrel with the Vedas. But if you go to the Buddhist discourse, you find that they are staunch opponents of the Vedic tradition. The Sankhya's never say that. They don't have any problem with the Vedas. They accept it. That's it. But historically, maybe at one point of time, there may be some Sankhya system, which may have some different opinions. But generally speaking, we say, and Melpatur, like when they speak about these pramanas, speak about the Sankhya as the three, they accept in three types of pramana. That is the position I accept from Acharyas like Professor Hiriyana. Okay.
I have placed questions in Professor Rajendran's chat box. Can you just attend to my?
I see. I don't. Could you read it out, because my tablet does not have enough space. I think I have not seen it. So could you just yeah. Nice to see. Nice to meet you here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And then quite unlike the rest of the traditional scholars, you problematized the issues, and I really wish that I could, my students also attended this. Probably you will put it up in the YouTube. So the query that I have is, while I have written it, I'm just reading it out. While drawing disparities between Indian and Western epistemologies, a major distinction probably is the ontological presupposition, according to which the epistemologies are tailored in India, while in the West, you pick up the tools first, and the ontology go as far as the tools take you. Do you follow? You get what I'm saying? In India, like you have a commitment. Take you have a commitment. Or take Shunyata, Madhyamakas, any school, Yogacara. So you have an ontological commitment, and then you construct the tools accordingly. While you are drawing disparities between the two traditions. And as far as West is concerned, you fix the tool first. You have no ontological commitment, and then you dig it as much as the tools permit you. If you have a very small tool, then you will be able to dig it only how much of it your tool permits you.
Little.
I understand. I understand. It's a very, very interesting question, very intriguing question. You know, that is yeah, that perception I can respect. But there are some problems remaining. In the first place, how do you select the tools? There again, you have got some judgment, right? You have got many types of tools. So even when you are, it is like in mathematics, how do you get these axioms? So the question is that similarly, what is it? Of course, you have to define your axioms. You have to, you first of all have to select the tools. Okay, fine. But how do you select the tools? There you have got a problem with judgment. How does one philosopher differ from another? Because there is some predispositional difference. That is what how I would say. So in India, I don't want to defend or anything like. I have got an open mind. But what happens is that in India, you have got, yes, you have got ontological predisposition. I agree. But how do you get these ontological dispositions? It is because of your own experience, shared experiences, and that has been handed over from time immemorial. So they have got their own inherent validity. You accept certain things, and then you have to build up your own epistemology to justify that your acceptance is validated. What is so that is how you can answer this question. And recently I went through Cambridge scholar Roy Perret, who has written about Indian philosophy, introduction to Indian philosophy in a very what you call in a very broad manner, very sympathetically, and he says that he doesn't take sides either with the Indian philosophy or Western philosophy, and he says that what I have mentioned, I have accepted what he has said. So either you have got ontological predispositions, or you have got epistemological predispositions, and the Westerners, yeah, okay,
we always
okay.
We always say that pramana dhinaha prameya sthiti, but
Yes.
when it comes to action, the ontology seems to be, taking a sweep over the epistemology, and that is what I wanted you to comment on. Anyway, thank you, sir, for that.
But ontology is very important, because you have to have a map of the universe around you. You have to have you have to accept what is real and unreal, and on the basis of that, you can select you can have your epistemology. That is method. Maybe you can say, as students of global philosophy, I would say that this maybe sometimes they could be contrastive, sometimes they could be complementary, sometimes they can go on challenging. So we will imagine that they are challenging, and we will understand a lot of things in their challenge. Okay, this is the position I take. Okay. Thank you very much for the very, very interesting question. Yeah.
Professor Rajendran, yet another comment that I have written as, while you drew distinctions between episodic and dispositional distinctions, very true that our knowledge are episodic. But then this
it is true.
very reason, like, it has emerged only after psychology has become a discipline. Psychology was earlier, Westerners were also occurrence. I mean, they always believed knowledge is occurrent, quite similar to episodic. But only recently they have subscribed to dispositionality. Don't you think so?
See, it's a good, I think it is a good tool to interpret this thing. I found it very, very rewarding. That is why I have taken. And maybe psychology also we can press into service. I would suggest that in future, when we study yoga, deep psychology and analysis, such methods will be of great use for us. It is up to us to take such challenges. So I think that is why I have taken these tools. I don't, is there any, actually, I don't see any problem at all. It's tools of interpretation. As a person belonging to 21st century, looking at our own tradition, we can use that. That's all. That's all.
I mean, of course it is perfect. Only thing is that the Western philosophers were also episodic. They were also occurrence. They were subscribing to occurrence theory of knowledge. Only in late 19th century and 20th century, they moved off to dispositionality. And that is how I see it.
Okay. Yeah. Accepted. Yeah. But at the same time, the predominant position now, when we speak about Western philosophy, now what happens is it's a matter of great credit to India that the people contrast and compare Indian philosophy with recent developments. That is something which is, I think, very remarkable. You don't compare Indian philosophy with the historical counterparts like Aristotle, Plato, etc., but you compare it with Derrida or modern, modern trends in philosophy. That is something very flattering for us, isn't it? So I would suggest that it has got a relevance even now. That may be there. So yeah, I accept your position.
Thank you so much. Wonderful hearing you once again.
Thank you.
So
Madam, as you said, this will be there available in our YouTube. This whole lecture will be available and it can be used. You can access our site. It will be available in our YouTube. Yeah. Then, sir, now I request Dr. Hariharan to intervene and moderate the topic.
Not Dr. Hariharan, Dr. Ramamurthy.
Dr.
Hello.
Dr.
Sorry.
Ramamurthy.
Dr. Ramamurthy, my name.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, Dr. Ramamurthy, he is a professor.
Good evening.
He was a professor.
Namaskaram to all.
He is a Nayayika. He is a Nayayika.
Oh.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram, sir.
Namaskaram.
Sir, I am afraid of
Sir.
Nayayika.
But I have keenly observed
It is
and
actually
and it's very, and it's very interesting and thought-provoking.
Yeah, thank you.
But sir, you have explained the topic in connection with related to Indian philosophy. I think there is another view that the Nyaya Shastra is Pramana Shastra, and it is only in later period it is considered as a philosophy. Only in 5th century AD, after the return of Vatsayana's commentary, that it became a philosophy. Actually, Pramana Shastra is for all material and spiritual, can be used for both sciences, branches of sciences. But Anveshiki, which is Pramana Shastra, Chanakya says that it is for material science, kings, administrators, and agriculturists, and all people has to be studied. And in his mind, it is physical science. Pramana Shastra is, epistemology is used for Laugika Karya. But I think you have explained all these things in a very beautiful manner. In related to Indian philosophy, could you explain this the development of Indian philosophy without the Pramana Shastra? Because Pramana Shastra is for all. So even in perception also is not a perfect Pramana. Without Anumana, you can't explain in a detail Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is considered as a Pramana only because without which we can experience the universe. That is the primary. So even in Pratyaksha, Indriyartha Sannyasa Janyam, Tatra also, Tatra Anumanasya Avashyakam. So Anumana is, that's why Nayayika, Pratyaksha Drishtamavi Vastu, Pratyaksha Drishtamavi Vastu,
Anumanena Samarthayando.
Anumanena Charvaga Pratyaksham, they accepted Pratyaksham, but in later period, they understood that without Anumana, Pratyaksha is also not possible because each Indriyas is limited to a particular gunas. That is, I can see only Rupa, ear can see only Sabda, Rasa, tongue can be only Rasa. So it is fixed. Each and every Indriyas are fixed in a subject. So how the experience, the universe, the diverse universe can be experienced in that context. So naturally, we must have a Anumana even for establishing Pratyaksha. That is very important. So I think Pramana Shastra is can be used for philosophy and also material. Only in later period it is incorporated with philosophy, and even now people think that epistemology is related to philosophy only. That is also a problem, because Shankaracharya criticizes Vaisheshika, but not Nyaya. Only because he knows that Nyaya is very important, and is a basic Shastra for all knowledge. That is my opinion. And anyway, you have explained all these subjects very beautifully, and I am very happy that even Murali Madhavan, he very clearly picturized the history of Indian knowledge. Even epistemology is traditional knowledge, intellectual traditional knowledge, and it has own separate existence without philosophy. That's my opinion. In the 10th century, after 10th century, it become Pramana Shastra again. It won't discuss Prameya. So Pramana Shastra is entirely different, and it has its own existence without the philosophical aspect. Because then there is a question, why it discuss with the Atma, Mana, Punarjanma, and etc. Because without which Pratyaksha is not possible. Atma Indriyas, Sanikasha, Atma Manasa Samvijade, Manaha Intehi. So all knowledge is based on Atma Manasa Samvijade. That's very common to all. Then even the object is not fixed, because our Panchendriyas takes only it, and then Atma is the subject which visualize the universe. So in that case, epistemology has to be then in context also. Anyway, I am very happy that I can participate in this and I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. You have raised some very interesting questions. Yeah, you are correct. In the origin, it was a Pramana Shastra. You can see Bhavabhuti speaks about Padavakya Pramanatya. Pada is Vyakarana, Vakya is Mimamsa, and Pramana, of course. That is how it began. That is how, as you have rightly pointed out, that is how Kaudalya has said Danyuchiki, Pradiva Sarva Shastra. Yeah, that's correct. But then what happens is that in India, there were two systems, sister systems, one the Vaisheshikas and the other Nyayikas. The Nyaya Shastra developed as a Vadavidya. You can go through the Padartha category, you can find Vidanda, all these things are listed as Padarthas. The Vaisheshikas were interested in ontology, like these Padarthas, like that. Then later on, what happened is very beautifully, Professor Kupaswamy Shastri has, portrayed that picture, how there was a syncretism and synthesis. Then, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Then it became philosophy. Then what happens? Around 12th century AD, Gangesha Upadhyaya came. And Gangesha completely changed the contours of Nyaya Vaisheshika through his Nyaya Tattva Chintamani. Then what happens? Now what you get is that these Tarka tracks are grouped as Pratyaksha Khanda, Anumana Khanda, like that. Then again, Pramana Shastra gets upper hand. Yeah, that is how that is developed. And they have got their own Pramana Shastra. And all the systems, sir, even Advaita has got its own Pramana Shastra, because if you read Khandana Khandagatya of Sriharsha, he has got his own method. So every system. Vajaspati Upadhyaya speaks, Vajaspati Vishra speaks about this Pramana. So every system has got its own. It is, sir, it is like modern states. Without military, you cannot survive. Similarly, in ancient India, systems of philosophy could not survive without epistemology, because other people will come and attack you. Okay, that is how I do it.
Sir,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, Dr. Ramamurthy, from the very beginning, the entire Shastras, from the very beginning, from the Vedic hymns, that we find the pramana and prameya, they are changing their importance, their significance from the very beginning.
Very pramana.
Even in Vedas, we can see that. And after Vedas, when these darshanas have originated one after another, they're also they are always playing with this pramana and prameya like that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So, sir, it's a great intellectual feast, that lecture series on our intellectual traditions. We started with a wonderful topic on epistemological traditions in Indian philosophy, and Dr. Ramamurthy is so supportive and to the arguments placed by our Professor Rajendran sir, and our Kantaloor Sala Special Officer Dr. Murali Madhavan sir also contributed very much in his inaugural address, and we could throw a good light on the system of epistemological traditions on today's whole event and discussions. And I am sure due to the positive type, I think whoever is having many more doubts can be definitely contact by contact, personal contact, it can be clarified. And we are very happy that we could get such a forum with
dear Mosad,
Yes.
professors like Arun Ranjan Mishra from West Bengal, they are attending our discussion. Several scholars
Wonderful.
from different states, they are attending the function. They are giving comments
Wonderful.
also in the box.
It's a very good scholar. Arun
Yeah.
Mishra. Yes.
Arun Ranjan Mishra is a good scholar.
Good
He is
scholar,
a professor.
a good friend of myself and Dr. Murali Madhavan.
Yeah.
It's next is vote of thanks. Next item is vote of thanks. On behalf of Kantaloor Sala, I propose a very great applause to all the participants as well as the speaker. So let me first thank Dr. S.V. Aryambiga for giving a blessed invocation on the beginning. So I propose my vote of thanks to her. And then next to Dr. Hariharan, who proposed the welcome address. My sincere thanks to him, and our president of the Kantaloor Trust and learned scholar, Vedic scholar, Narayana Bhatti gave the presidential address. So I propose a vote of thanks on behalf of Kantaloor Sala and Kantaloor Trust. Then, of course, our leading source of inspiration is Dr. Murali Madhavan. He is the special officer, and of course, it is his brainchild that today such a function is we could organize wonderfully well. So I thank you, sir, for your wholehearted cooperation. And of course, the Professor C. Rajendran, who gave a wonderful lecture and throw light on the epistemological traditions of Indian philosophy, and first to our lecture series, and that too, your interaction with our esteemed professors from other state as well as within the country, within the state, was very wonderfully well, and you could give a wonderful talk on this occasion. We are grateful to you, sir, and thank you so much for your wonderful lecture.
Thank you.
I do take this opportunity to, one among us is Professor G. Ramamurthy. He is Dr. G. Ramamurthy. He is director of Kantaloor Sala. And of course, he is also one among us. But on an occasion of proposing vote of thanks, I take it as a privilege to say thanks to you, sir, Dr. Ramamurthy. And then too, of course, today it is supposed to be vote of thanks to be expressed by our liaison officer, Vasudevaru, but due to some technical reasons, he could not join the meeting. So I took the privilege to say vote of thanks on behalf of him. And so that also, so I express my thanks to him
Okay.
also.
Okay.
So I express my thanks to him also. It's a privilege.
You are
given
the secretary, so you are powerful to do this.
I got a privilege, so I take the chance. So I got a wonderful chance, and I do take this opportunity for kind listening, because all of you were very pleased to be with us on throughout the meeting and the live discussions.
We have to thank Dr. Jyoti for his support.
Of course, sir, I am coming to that point. Because such an event would not have taken place. See, Kantaloor Sabha and Kantaloor Sala is existing because of sincere effort by a group of people. That is our Vice President, Madhavan Nambudiri, and our Treasurer, Dr. Pradeep Jyoti. They're all, because it's all coordinated effort. It is not a one-man show. Everybody does their own part. Only on behalf of Kantaloor Sala, you cannot forget everybody's contribution, and even the participants and Kantaloor Trust members, all are a very inevitable part of our Shala and our thought-provoking process. So what is to be done, the pre-planning, everything, everybody's contribution is well accepted. And as an occasion, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Pradeep Jyoti, Madhavan Nambudiri, our Vice President, and then our Kantaloor Sala liaison officer, as well as all the trust executives and the members present here. Thank you all once again, and thank you.
Next
so
program
much.
is on 4th
Thank you.
Saturday.
Thank you very much. For the
Thank you,
patient
Rajendran.
listening. Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Rajendran.
Okay.
Yeah, we are highly indebted to you for your scholarly presentation.
Thank you.
When we thought of thinking starting such a lecture series, the first lecture we thought, I told immediately it should be Professor Rajendran.
Oh, thanks.
So, that
Great
is,
compliment.
our friendship is always there, and
Yes,
I took that
thank you.
privilege, and so it was nice. It was a wonderful
you.
experience we had.
Thank you, Dr.
We
Madhavan.
spent
Sir,
the
one
time
more-
very Kavya Shastra Vinodena Kalo Gachati Dhimata. So
Sir,
we spent
one
the
more-
time fruitfully.
One more
Thank
thing.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.